welcome to Cosplay Stitch and Seam. I'm Pannon.
I'm Fire.
And I'm David.
Hooray!
had to get the dramatic pause on that one that time.
David.
David.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, howdy. Hello. How's it going, listeners? As always, if you would like to I don't know, I just kind of got rambly there. If you want to reach out to us, I'm just getting slap happy. You can do that at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com. Or where else can you do it?
Or go to the website, cosplaystitchandseam.com, and fill out the googly Google form,
Or join our Facebook group and send us your message there. And while you're on the internet, you can do a whole bunch of things, like looking up cosplay tips and tricks and talking to our fantastic community that's more than happy to share their experiences, either in our Facebook page or our Discord, which we love our Discord. They are such a great bunch of human beings. We talked about the series finale of Loki. Oh, man, that was good stuff.
I need to watch that. Oh.
And everyone's really good and polite about spoilers.
Thank you.
Like, hey, this is how we do spoilers. Just make sure that you do this and that. And like, there's no like, hey, you're spoiling everything. It's just like, hey, this is how it's done. That's all. It's easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's great. While you're also on the internet, and if you want to help out the show, we greatly appreciate that if you leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or any podcast app that lets you do that. If you have left one and we have not acknowledged it, please let me know. I'm more than happy to fix it. I want to make sure that we give the kudos to the people who are really helping us out. It helps the algorithms, and we appreciate any help to find more people that want to enjoy the Cosplay Stitch and Seam group. We also have a Patreon if you want to throw us a couple of bucks. Patreon.com/cosplaystitch. For $3 a month, you get to get a shout out at the end of each and every single episode. And at $5 a month, you join the Cosplay Chronicle.
Determine our fates.
Yes, that is something
ominous.
that happens occasionally. I will put a poll on the Patreon. The last stream, it was a tie for what monster should I throw at the creatures, and it was a tie between Displacer Beasts and a Manticore. So they got both. Not simultaneously, but they got both. It was great.
Great. Yes. Great.
I have excited shenanigans for the results from that.
Oh boy.
You sure did.
Speaking of our Cosplay Chronicles campaign, if you're local and would like to join us for the upcoming convention SaltCon, it's going to be August 1st at 1 p.m. at the Davis Conference Center. We actually still have a couple seats left at our table if you want to join us for our live episode of Cosplay Chronicles. David's doing a fun little one shot, and we are super excited. And yeah, it'll be like the first time actually doing it out in the public. Exciting. Yeah.
High hopes. I've got high hopes for it. It's all going to be Dash because that's how players play. But I've got high hopes.
Hopefully we don't dash too many of them. And then, as always, if you guys want to check out foxbeautycosmetics.com, that's Fox, F-O-X-X, beautycosmetics.com, you can use the promo code Stitch and Seam to receive 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products, and some really cool D&D themed, lip tints and all kinds of fun stuff. So check that out. This week, what are we doing this week, Mercedes?
We are, this episode? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like, wait, what are we talking about? Did I miss something? Shoot!
You forgot your homework.
I did. I always forget my homework. Okay. Okay. Today we are going to be talking about beading in cosplay, because we've talked about embroidery, we've talked about even what is it called?
I don't know.
Shoot. It's the one where you put the fabric on top of the fabric and you stitch it on top.
Applique?
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that's just called sewing. That's really what it comes down to for me.
I was like, there's a word for this and I forgot. Applique, yes. Yeah, so applique. But we haven't really talked about beading in detail, and it's kind of rare when it comes to like cosplayers having beading on their costumes. When you do see it, oh my gosh, it's amazing.
It's so fun, yeah.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to look at. But I also understand, like, it takes a long time. Like, if you think embroidery takes a long time, beading apparently, like, takes longer. Because you gotta, like, thread the bead and, like, all that kind of stuff. I'm assuming, because, like, I've looked at stuff for it. I've not actually done it myself yet. I don't know. I'm really excited for this. Let's dive in.
Nice. Yay. All right. So my quick history of the beads. They have evidence back as far as 3100 BC, according to Wikipedia. So if it goes back further than that, tell me, because I could be wrong. They used to make it with like powdered clay and sand and stuff. They'd make like a paste. And then it wasn't on purpose, actually, because they would get the beads so hot that they became glass instead of just being clay. And they started making these like glass beads because they're like, those are shiny and pretty. And that kind of started our whole human race of, that's shiny and pretty. I need that. So they have historically been used for things like religious purposes, storytelling, good luck talismans, trading, or even as curative or medicinal agents. That is the bead. Like, I don't know about you guys, but like, whenever I go to the crafting stores and they have the bead aisle, I just have to look. Even if I don't buy anything, I have to go see all the little tiny shiny things.
It's very much like the Raven brain. Yeah,
yes.
I totally get that of like, yes, shiny. I would like this. I have no purpose for these things, but it's shiny and new and I like it.
Yes.
But no, it seems so tedious though. So tedious.
I like tedious. I'm a weirdo. That's why I love putting embroidery in just like everything. I will sit there for hours stitching. Did you guys see? Sorry, I'm jumping. It is on topic though.
Yes.
So there was like that TikTok of the guy being like, "Guess how I got these arms?" And he's got like these big buff like forearms. And then it switches from like the serious music to like soft music, and he like holds up in a cross stitch of the Avengers.
Amazing.
So apparently it's a great workout for your arms too.
I mean, it's a lot of repetitive motions for sure. I don't know, like you said, Mercedes, you don't necessarily see it very often in costumes because it is time consuming. I was trying to like go back and think of ones I'd used it on, and I think the biggest one was like Princess Serenity because she has all the beading on her top, and that took a long time.
So I have to admit, I lied.
Huh?
I lied. I have done beading before.
Oh, good.
I forgot about my tree skirt.
Hey.
For my tree skirt for Christmas, I put a bunch of beaded snowflakes.
Oh, cute.
I think I put that out of my memory because of how long it took.
It can't hurt you anymore.
It can't hurt me. No. It just looks pretty on the floor.
Oh my gosh. I was in one of the first cosplay contests that I did craftsmanship in. I think it was the first one I did craftsmanship in. No, it wasn't. I'm lying. I'm not. I'm misremembering.
Liars, right?
Sorry, David. That was a mess. Good luck. I was trying to think of ways to embellish Kurogane and Fi from the show Tsubasa. And I just like, because Kurogane is pretty like plain looking character, and I was like, how can I make him like look cooler and put things on him, but also he's a ninja, so it can't be bright or flashy. So I did like he has this cloak, and I did a beaded dragon. Like, I just did a dragon on the back because dragons are his motif, but I did it all out of beads for funsies. And
wild.
I did a lot of it in the car on the way to the convention, which I shouldn't have done because I think Tia is still picking beads out of her car 8, 9, 10 years later.
That sounds worse than a trip to the beach and with your backpack full of sand.
Lurk everywhere. So I thought real quick we would talk about like the different types of beading that there are, because there are apparently a ton of different types. There is loom weaving, which I don't know if you guys have seen before. They have beading looms, which have like threads pulled across, almost like a guitar string, where it's just like a lot of them right next to each other, about the width of a seed bead. And you actually like go through and back and forth string beads on. I used to have one when I was a kid, and so I'd do like friendship bracelets and stuff out of it. But it's basically like when you see they're like really square shaped ones, or you see like ones that are in on the like hem of a skirt, things like that with a running pattern. It's usually done on a loom to help it stay nice and like straight and even. That's really pretty. Of course, there is off loom weaving, where it's like interwoven into your strands. I used to do these with like pony beads when I was a kid. Do you remember doing like the little lizards out of pony beads?
Yes.
So that's
No. I'm looking it up now.
I will show you how to make a lizard out of pony beads.
David needs to go to Girl Scouts.
They never let me do the fun ones, apparently.
Dang
I had
it.
to do archery and family life and...
Oh, tragedy. Yeah, those are different ways that you can do like the weaving and create patterns and things with your beads. Most often you'll see stringing, which is just having them on strings. There's definitely different ways you can manipulate the string to do like loops and flowers and snowflakes and things like that, all while on a string. I think like one of the earliest ones I learned how to do was like make a little daisy, because you like make a loop with the thread of beads and then you put a little one in the middle and it makes a little daisy. Yeah, the nice thing too is there are so many tutorials out for like different fun things you can do with beads. When I was a kid, we did not have the internet as like such an easy guide and access, and I had all of those like how-to books at Barnes and Noble. I would just like raid that section that came with all the little like toys and things, like the Klutz books on like how to juggle and magic tricks and beads and weaving and all kinds of crazy stuff. And that's just what I did instead of the internet. So you can now learn that on the internet. Beaded embroidery, which is most of what I've done for costumes, and I think that has probably the most potential toward cosplay stuff, aside from like making jewelry and whatnot. You can also slide beads on when you're doing crochet, when you're knitting, when you're tatting. And then the one I have no experience with, but I'm always super impressed by, is 3D beading, where people will actually like sculpt things out of beads that are like just woven together. It's freaking cool. And yeah, any that I missed? I think that's all of them.
Yeah.
Lie to me. You could make up a bead right now, and you could say, okay, so then there's the horse stitch bead, which is slightly different from the pony bead. And I would 100% believe you, and I would be eating this up. Like, I really would.
And then there's the bugle bead, which is kind of like the bugle chips, where you stick them on the ends of your fingers.
And you pretend to be a witch.
Dude, that would make a super dope looking necklace, though.
Although there actually are bugle beads, David. They are not looking like chips. I'm sorry.
Don't do this to me. Bugle
sorry.
bead. Looking it up. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
You
All
okay?
right. Yeah, I think I've actually seen these ones before.
Okay.
These are ones that I'm familiar with only because of my comic book connection.
Oh,
there
interesting.
was the TV show for Cloak and Dagger. And
Oh, wow.
it takes place in New Orleans, and they're getting ready for one of their traditional parades. Not like the Mardi Gras parade, but Tyrone picks up his brother's cloak that he was working on as a costume, and it had bugle beads on it, and it was unfinished. And he sits there for a little bit working on the beads for his what will be his superhero costume. Okay, yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah.
See, superheroes use bugle beads.
Perfect.
Now I know. Noah's half the battle. Go, Joe.
Yeah. So speaking of beading in sewing, I thought we could kind of go over those in a little more detail. So beaded embroidery, like I said, is probably the most commonly used one. It's kind of similar, all under the same umbrella as things like applique, where it's going on top of your garment. You're making a design or a pattern or a picture, and you're usually doing it with just like a single threaded needle going up and down through your thing and holding the beads onto the top. There are like a bunch of different ways you can do that. The nice thing with beads is like where with embroidery, you might have to learn like 10, 15, 20. There's so many different stitches. With beads, you're not doing anything like specific except coming up, grabbing a bead, going back down, or depending on the technique, you might have a string of them that you're whip stitching around, things like that. So it's kind of a lower learning curve, I guess, or fewer things to learn right off the bat, probably, because there are like a ton of things you can do with beads. But the basic principle is, you know, thread up, put bead on, thread down.
Okay. Complex. I know. I think I could manage it. Not well, but I think I could.
Okay. And then we have things that are like fringe, which is like when you have bead tassels, like in just a string that's hanging off in a repeating pattern around, like a hem, or all over your garment, wherever you want them to dangle off. You can also do like edge beading, where you do it along a hem, and you can do like different patterns where the beads will like loop on itself, and it can look like really intricate, like lace.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, you can do all kinds of fun stuff along with edge beading. Couching, like, so couching I didn't know was what I was doing as a technique until I like found the word for it later, because I was like, oh yeah, that's how I do the bead thing. So with couching, you, at least the way I do it, I'm sure there's a specific technique, but I usually have 2 needles, and I'll have one that has a strand of beads on it, and then I'll have one that I'm like whip stitching around with. So you can like lay your strand of beads down in whatever pattern you want them to lay down in. And then instead of catching a bead every time when you go up and down, you're actually just catching the thread and doing a little tiny stitch onto the thread to hold it in place where the beads are sitting on the strand. Does that make sense?
So it sounds like there'd be like gaps depending on like how far away your stitches were.
It can happen, but honestly, if you're doing really tiny stitches, if you're like holding the strand together, squishing the beads together as you pull down, they'll stay pretty closely tight together. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I like that one. That one is really good for if you're like free-handed stuff. So if you're like drawing a line art on your design, if you're tracing a pattern, if you're like, if it doesn't need to be specifically straight lines or edge designs, things like that, it's really good for doodling. Doodling. I like that. You can also do beading to add accent to like applique and raised designs. I think it was at NandesCon a few years back, I had some friends do like some clamp costumes, and they did these really pretty applique, and then they actually went around the applique with beads on top of everything else, and I was like, holy crap, it's so extra, but it's really pretty. So yeah, you can add it adds like sparkle and dimension and all kinds of stuff to your design, which may or may not be what you want. So yeah, it's totally up to you. And then one of my other favorite things to do with beads is using them to attach sequins, because sequins are kind of like beads. They're just flat discs. But what you can do with sequins when you're attaching like a single sequin at a time is you bring your thread up through the sequin, grab a bead, and then when you try to go back down, the bead stays stuck and the sequin stays where you've set it. So it just works to like lock that in place, and it's cute. So I like doing that when I want like really sparkly stuff, and I want to be able to like sprinkle sequins all over without with having a little more control over where they go, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It is a lot of work and very tedious. I've had friends do like that bubble dress that Galinda has in Wicked, where it's just sparkly sequins, and they have to attach the sequins like one at a time, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands. It's so much work, but it looks gorgeous and amazing, and I like sparkly things on costumes, could you tell?
No.
Yeah, see, I like tedious, but sequins is where I draw the line.
See, I used to be anti-sequin, and then I have seen how they look on stage, and when like the stage lights hit them, you just like light up. It's so fun.
I mean, it just sounds like my astigmatism will kind of like just make those long lines.
I'm sorry, David.
It's fine. I think it's funny. And then then it really is impressive, because then it's like, oh man, you've made it look like I'm driving. This is amazing. Yeah, well done.
Big shiny disco ball. So that's like using it on fabric. But fabric is definitely not the only thing you can put beads on, or the only way to use beads. I thought we could talk a little bit about putting them on like armor and props and things. Have you guys done anything with those?
I never considered doing the thing, actually.
Oh, I was wondering if there was anything like that on any of like the Aloy costumes that you'd done, Mercedes, but I don't know Horizon Zero enough to know if she has anything with beads on it.
So yes, mostly like necklaces and her hair.
Okay.
Yeah, like she's got tons of beads in her hair, and she's got all these different kind of necklaces. I know that depending on the outfit, there'll be beading in different places on it, and I've only made the one, but I've definitely stared very longingly at the others. And like there's a lot of fun different areas where you can incorporate beading and make it look really, really cool.
I really like beads because I feel like they kind of tiptoe along that line between armor and props and fabric stuff, because you can use it in both, and it's a material that's not technically like something you can sew through, but it's also not like specifically a prop. But it can accent both. And you can make them yourselves. Like, you don't have to just buy beads at the store. You can make them out of Sculpey. I've seen like really cool ones where they'll like weave all these different colors together and do it in a long strand, and then cut their own little beads that have like swirls throughout them or patterns. And that's so cool. Like, I love seeing like handcrafted items like that, especially like for competitions. It's something that's really different. But you can also do them, like I've used when I did Sidon from Breath of the Wild, like doing some of the beaded accents and things like that. I just used like thermoplastics to look like beads. So like you can make beads out of whatever material you want.
I did see a cosplayer, I think their name is Ludus Cosplay, Ludus, and I think he was doing like a Dr. Stone or something, and he did do just that. He kind of made a combination of a foam and Warbler combination to make like bone beads. So it looked like they were bones. He had to paint them and texture them and everything, but yeah.
That's so
that's
cool.
That's freaking cool, yes.
For Princess Agatha, for Lexus, she has like all these bugs that are wrapped around her neck. Cutest little thing. I just took wood beads, sanded down one side of them so that they'd lay flat, so they'd always face one way. And then just took a heat knife kind of thing, wood burning tool with a knife on it, and carved in the beetle details.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah. So that worked out really nicely
already
for her.
Nice and like rounded and stuff for you.
Yep. Yeah, it worked out so perfect. And then I just had to sculpt the big like horned beetle that's on the like the centerpiece of the necklace for her. So
nice. Nice. That's so fun. So like beads don't have to be glass, they can be plastic, they can be clay, they can be whatever you need, wood, they can be whatever you need them to be to work for your costume. Especially on the ones that have like the bigger, like chunky jewelry or like tassels and charms and things like that. It can be really fun. I know when I did Phi for that competition with Kurogane, I had all these like dangly bead strands on my staff that I was using, and I thought I was really extra, but I thought it would be cool if they were made of fluorite, because his name is Phi D Fluorite. I got all these fluorite beads that like they were really pretty, but it made it really heavy.
So let me ask you then,
Yeah,
because you went above and beyond, probably paid even a little extra to get these type of beads, and then when you go into judging and you say like, yes, I did this, see the pun, see what I did there, haha. As a judge, is that something that you're like, yes, I appreciate this, or you took a lot of time on that, probably could have focused on other areas other than adding to the joke? How does that contribute to the competition mentality?
It really depends. If I see someone like going above and beyond I wouldn't even say like it was good for a pun, but I also like genuinely liked what it added to the prop. It wasn't just like thrown on.
Gotcha.
So it depends on like how they're incorporating something unique. Like if it is it's basically like when you're in a cosplay contest, like, is it well crafted? Is it cleanly made? Like, you're still looking at those, even if it's something that is like extra or beyond the original design, you still want it to be well done,
Yeah. I'm of the like, if you do something like that and like your costume's not greatly executed, but you threw in this thing as a like he's the fluorite, so I used this in a dude, that's a judge's choice for me right there. I'm like, I appreciate this. At the very least, like, if it's not going to get something else, it's like, that stands out to me that you care enough about the character to throw in these, like, really cool extra details, even if it didn't quite come off craftsmanship-wise the way that you had hoped, or, it's not just quite there. To me, it's still deserving of recognition.
For sure. Yeah. Like, I don't know, like, judging can be, like, so all over the place in terms of, like, what people choose to put their time into. Some people will go above and beyond and be extra on something like that because they know that they're good at it. They know it's going to be a wow factor, whereas they might neglect something else on their costume because it's not their strong point, and they'll probably downplay that. So it really depends. Like, I don't think there's any trouble with playing to your strengths, but you still want to make sure like your foundation and bases are covered. Yeah.
Okay.
Like I said, it's a tough balancing act. Like,
this is where it's like, guys, if you need more time to work on your costume, it's okay to call it and put it to the next convention. I'm trying to make myself do that more.
Like, I try, especially with things like that, I leave those elements for the last. Like, I want to make sure that I have the base finished and everything else is the frosting on top. Like, it's the extra that, like, I had time to add rhinestones. I had time to add beads. The hard part with something like beading, something like embroidery, is you usually are doing the embroidery or beading or whatever, and then you have to put in a lining that covers all of your thread on the back of it. So make sure that you have enough time to finish your garment or your prop or whatever after you've done the beading, embroidery, etc.
Yeah, it comes back to like all the time management when it comes to cosplay, and just making sure that you are still giving as much attention to everything that you need to on it, so that it doesn't fall apart on you.
Definitely.
We want no tears. No tears.
Let's see, where were we? On props and stuff, you can use beads as like accents and charms, and I'm trying to think of one. Like, I know El Royale, when we did like Final Fantasy X stuff, she did like really cool ones out of thermoplastic. Like she did all these hanging beads for Yuna from her front, like because they look so like long beads and like they're not something you can just go in the store and find and be like, I need this bead. So she like made them all from scratch, which was really cool. You can also use them as just like a textural element. I was thinking kind of like if you want like line art on like your armor or your prop or like something that's drawing a like bumpy sort of line, you can put it under your thermoplastic and it leaves like a really fun texture on top.
That would be so cool.
You can also like just leave a bunch of them in an area and it gives it like some bumpity texture. Sorry, I'm like drumming the table like bumpity. You can tell my fingers are doing bumpity. But yeah, it's just like a unique texture that you can also use or you can use over the top while it's still like warm if you want to like indent it with beads. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. Anything else that you guys have used for like props and armor and stuff that I might have missed?
All of my props are very bland when it comes to like extra stuff so far. I don't know.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm like thinking about the projects that I'm wanting to work on, and I'm trying to think like could I incorporate beads, and probably like, not. Yeah,
like I know it's hard too because like incorporating beads feels a lot like the first time I made a keyblade because it has like the dangly thing, and you're like trying to pose and hold and things like that, and the keychain just like goes everywhere. Beads are a lot like that, so you definitely want to take that into account with how you're moving with your prop.
Oh yes,
or your armor and whatnot, and what it's going to knock into. I made this mistake actually with what is it, Vi Link, when I did the Gerudo version of Link. I did a ton of extra beading and tassels and things like that, and I love how the beads look, but I had some laying on my side, on my hip, right where the screen for my Sheikah slate goes.
Oh no.
And after my day, it's a mini horror story. Because like after the first day I wore it, I picked up my Sheikah slate and it just had like a scratch in the same place going back and forth. I was like, oh, whoopsie.
No.
So I had to remove some beads after that first one just because you want to be aware of how it's interacting with the rest of your costume.
Yeah, it's like, what's it going to rub up against? What's it going to hit?
Yeah.
I just had a crazy idea, V-Fire.
Yeah?
So your Hyperlight Drifter guy.
I've been totally thinking about him this whole time while we're talking about beads.
You and I are on the same page with like beading. You could achieve that pixel because there's those bead portraits, right? Like they're not portraits, but they're like little pixelated versions using specifically colored beads. Do you guys know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, just like accents of beading to give it that pixelated vibe would be like, you still do it the way that you're doing it, but that's my brain was like, yeah, your Hyperlight Drifter would actually be pretty cool with beads.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Ooh.
I need to put it on the gun.
Bead gun.
It'd be like dazzling it.
Yes. Amazing.
It's so perfect. And then like I was like, as I'm sitting here like listening to all this, I was like, oh, and I could add beading into, because I haven't done his cloak yet. And I have like this plan for like pixelated versions of the monsters that he fights.
Ooh.
That would be cool to like scatter that in there. Oh my gosh. Oh.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
I am here for this. David, I'm here for this.
That's what I do. I'm a great ideas man.
You are a great ideas man. Also, we usually try to figure out like some things we can do with like as far as makeup and wigs go. Most of the stuff with makeup, I usually tend to see like the half pearls, like it's a dome shape that you stick on, so they're not like actually beads. But for wigs and hair and stuff, they do that for a lot of like the Final Fantasy characters. I know like just coming up on an anniversary for Final Fantasy 4 and for Final Fantasy 10. But when my friends and I did 4, I got to do Cecil, and I did like the Amano style version where he's got all these beads in his hair. And I remember like painstakingly threading them onto this wig and then putting little clips in so it would stay. And yeah, It's fun. It's like a fun accent, but it does definitely like pull your wig down where you're putting them, depending on how light your beads are. So
True,
keep that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you can definitely string them onto wigs and things like that
With the makeup.
Yeah.
So going back to Agatha again. So the first time that Lexus and I did Agatha, we just found like these really cute shiny rhinestones, but like it's too shiny, and Agatha's like 3 dots underneath each eye. They're more like pastel. So we kind of like painted them a bit, but left them a little shiny, and it was okay. But we recently did a reshoot of Agatha. Did a years later kind of thing, and like Lexus is still stupid cute. And you can see these on, I think she has an Instagram now under Rexi Roo, REXXIROO. And the new ones that we put under her, I was at Joann's because I could not find our old rhinestones that we used. So I was like, I'll just go buy some new ones. It'll be fine. And they look like candy, and it was so perfect. They were all pastel-y looking. They were super sparkly, but like it was like still, you look like candy. And I was like, this is so perfect for Agatha. So like
those little like paper candy buttons that you end up eating paper.
Yeah.
Gross.
It was. Yeah, I was way happy with those, and how we got them to stick to her face. So the first time we used oh shoot, what's that stuff they used to glue your ears on?
Spirit gum?
Spirit gum. We used spirit gum, but it made her face all sticky and she didn't like it. This time we used wig tape.
Oh, interesting.
Just cut it up into small pieces, put it on the back, stuck it to her face, boom, done.
Nice.
Works great.
I am a big fan of eyelash glue too, because like it has a like flexible adhesive. And so like if you're moving and you're smiling and stuff like that, it's not going to fall right off. I like it.
I half expected that story to go into the point of like, so she didn't like spirit gum, so we ended up just using super glue, you know?
No.
It was
Oh
that's
my
like
gosh.
where my brain was like, this is going to end so badly so
You guys
fast.
all look at Lexus's face and it's all like scarred.
No.
But only in the pattern of the beads.
No.
She would hate me.
Oh my god.
Oh, Lexus, don't listen to this episode.
That's almost a horror story right there.
We did not do that, no.
Yeah, but speaking of...
Time for cosplay horror stories. There we go. I can words. Horror story time. So this one's from the wonderful Bunley Bunny. So they say, I want to share a mini cosplay horror story on what happened recently with my Korra dress cosplay. By the way, if you guys have not seen their Korra, it's amazing.
Yes.
I love Bunley's Korra. I had been working on the top of the dress for quite some time and realized the sleeves need to be changed to fit into the armholes. Unfortunately, I had already sewn most of the sleeves, so I needed to undo half of the work with the seam ripper. As I was ripping out the seams, my eagerness and impatience to finish caught up with me. That once I ripped apart the seams, I realized I stabbed a hole through the fabric.
Oh no.
I've been there. My heart sank. I noticed that the hole could be seen on the outside instead of the inside. I thought through what I could do next. I couldn't redo the whole sleeve. I already separated and cut out all the fabric needed to fit each part of the dress. Holding my breath and hoping this next idea works, I folded over the fabric enough to disguise the hole and keep it inside the sleeve. Then I took a bit of fabric glue to patch up the hole. The outside edge of the sleeve looks uneven with the extra fold, but as long as I don't point out the mistake, it goes unnoticed. The entire thing has taught me, go slow and careful with the seam ripper, or else.
Oh man, I have the number of nightmares I have had over seam rippers ripping the wrong spot. It just
For real.
Yes. But thank you, Bunley, for sending that in. If you guys at home would like to send us one of your horror stories, your happy stories, just tell us how you're doing and what you're working on, you can send that to us at cosplaystitchandseam@gmail.com or
you can go to the website and fill out the googly Google form at cosplaystitchandseam.com, Or
go to our Facebook page and send us your message there. Or when you're on our Facebook page, you might even see a link to our Discord every now and again. And we have a whole channel just dedicated to cosplay horror stories. And people don't just share the horror stories, they share the happy stories, the fun time stories, everything in between. It's really great. And while you're on the internet, we would love any support that you are willing to provide, if that's sharing the podcast with a friend, leaving a review on Apple Podcasts, or wherever they let you leave those reviews. We'll even read it on air and give you a shout out on the show. And if you have a few extra bucks kicking around and you want to send that our way to help keep the lights on, we really appreciate that. You can always go to patreon.com/cosplaystitch, much like Cynics, at Queer Eye Sci-Fi, How Cos, Hot Riku, Rena Mira, Jazzy Kofed, Jaguar Quinn, Gloria Shu, Sudi, Stacy Pitt, Shock H, and Silver Deeds.
Yay! Thank you guys so much. Also coming up, don't forget we will be at SaltCon this coming August 1st at 1 p.m. at the DCC Davis Conference Center.
I'm so excited.
You can catch us for a live episode of Cosplay Chronicles. We'll be there with the whole crew, and maybe you too. And as always,
we should do a cosplay.
Oh no!
I have the cosplay. You got it for me for Christmas.
Cosplay, yes,
that's true.
You have the cosplay.
You are the dungeon master.
Casual cosplay of our characters.
Yes. Oh, Jazzy got me 3D printed me some horns for Rain, so maybe I will put them on a little headband and throw something together. Yeah. So that would be fun. As always, if you guys want to check out foxbeautycosmetics.com, you can use the promo code STITCHANDSEAM to get 10% off your purchase of all vegan, not tested on animal products. Thanks as always to Macy Roberts for letting us use her music as our theme song, and David Jeffress for his consistently amazing editing despite all of our fumblings and tripping and, and laughing. How are your podcasts going, David?
Oh, they're going so great. We interviewed a TikTok creator who wrote his own comic book called Ace Blade. He's doing a Kickstarter. And we got to talk to him about his creative process, his family life, his TikTok career that he's just boomed into 50,000 followers. Great human being. Nice. So go check out that episode. And also, I do this small little podcast called The Last Voice, and I just looked at the statistics of that podcast, and it made me just break down in some sort of no, nobody likes this, but apparently you all like it. So I guess I'll continue doing it. We're on episode 18 of 25, so we're getting close to the end of season 1.
Oh, that's cool.
That's so exciting, David. So I'm so happy for you. Yay! Well, I guess we'll see you later, guys. We gave you a lot of fun ideas for your next project, so I hope you get to try one of these techniques. We, however, forgot to mention how much beading can, weigh down a costume and make it really heavy, but also it makes it pretty durable. You could say it could take a beating.
Oh, I was going to say you could string together all these ideas.
Hey, that is unbelievable.
Get me out of here. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Sorry, David, will you delete me?
Yes.
Will you delete me? Why is there temporary error? Why can't I go to Gmail?